In the warm, golden light of an Egyptian afternoon, Nephra sat cross-legged under the shade of a date palm, her hands busy smoothing a piece of basalt stone. Life had changed dramatically for her ever since her father, the royal sculptor, passed away from desert fever just a few weeks ago. He had left her not just with sorrow but with a secret about the Jedstone pillow, a symbol of eternity that he had been working on for years. The pillow does more than support your head, Neferu, it keeps the soul anchored, he had told her in his gravelly voice, a memory that echoed in her mind. That evening, after a long day of work, she decided to try lying on the rough stone slab herself, curious if it could indeed hold the weight of her dreams. As she settled down, the coolness of the stone seeped into her skin, and soon her eyelids grew heavy. Suddenly, in the depths of her slumber, a dream began to unfurl before her. Out of the swirling sands and shadows, a figure emerged, a god with the head of a falcon, majestic and imposing. Neferu, the god intoned, his voice a blend of thunder and whisper, "I am Horus, guardian of the skies and your dreams." Her heart raced. She had heard tales of Horus, but never imagined she would meet him in a dream. "You hold the key to the Jed, child. Its power can shape destinies, but it must be used wisely," he continued, his eyes piercing into her soul. Neferu nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. "What must I do?" she asked, her voice trembling with anticipation. "You must learn to carve the sun's rays into the stone, for each ray holds a piece of eternity. But beware, not every soul seeks the light," Horus warned. Just then, a loud crash echoed in her mind, pulling her from the dream. She jolted awake to find her cat, Duat, sprawled on the stone pillow, scratching at it in frustration. "Meow! Useless slab!" she exclaimed, her tiny paws futilely clawing at the hard surface. Neferu couldn't help but laugh at her cat's antics, the tension of the dream melting away. "You just don't understand the significance, do you, Duat?" she chuckled, brushing her fingers through the cat's fur. Duat flicked her tail dismissively, jumping down and strutting away, clearly unimpressed by the stone. With a sigh, Neferu returned her focus to the rock, her mind still buzzing with the words of Horus. "Carve the sun's rays," she whispered to herself, feeling a spark of determination ignite within her. The next day, she gathered her tools, ready to begin the task that felt monumental yet somehow within her reach. As she worked, she envisioned the rays of the sun, each one a promise of life, warmth, and eternity. Hours passed, and the sun began to dip low in the sky, casting long shadows over her workspace. Neferu took a step back to admire her work. The first few rays were beginning to take shape, a testament to her skill and her father's teachings. Just then, Duat returned, eyeing the stone with newfound interest, as if sensing the energy radiating from it. "You're back, huh? Ready to help?" she teased, nudging the cat playfully. Duat responded with a soft meow, laying down beside the stone, her presence comforting as Neferu continued to carve. As night fell, the stars twinkled above, each one a reminder of the vastness of her dreams and the journey ahead. That night, as she lay down once more on the stone, she was eager for another visit from Horus, her heart filled with hope and purpose. Neferu adjusted her scarf as she walked through the bustling construction site, the sun beating down on her back. She had just received an order from the pharaoh himself, a royal stone pillow to be crafted with utmost care. 30 centimeters high and adorned with the image of Horus, the high priest had instructed, his voice echoing in her ears. Neferu sighed, her mind racing with ideas about how to make it perfect, but first, she had to get through the chaos of the site. As she navigated through the workers, she spotted Nern, the young sculptor known for his dazzling smile and talent. "Hey, Neferu," he called out, his grin wide as he chipped away at a block of stone. She waved back, trying to suppress the flutter in her stomach that his smile always caused. Nern sauntered over, wiping sweat from his brow. "What brings you here? Need help lifting those heavy stones?" Neferu rolled her eyes playfully. "Oh please, I can handle my own stones, thank you very much." Nern chuckled, leaning closer. "Well, if you need a strong pair of hands, I'm your man." His flirtation made her laugh, and she couldn't help but feel a little flattered. "So, what are you working on?" he continued, his curiosity piqued. "A stone pillow for the pharaoh, but it's got to be perfect." Nern's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Perfect, huh? I guess I'll have to help you make it even more perfect." Neferu raised an eyebrow. "And how exactly do you plan on doing that?" With a dramatic flair, Nern pulled out a piece of parchment, with a poem, of course. "Oh no, not a poem about rocks," she teased, crossing her arms. "Just listen," he said, clearing his throat. "Your eyes shine like amethyst, / my heart is harder than granite." Neferu burst out laughing. "You really think that will win me over?" Nern grinned. "It's a work in progress. But hey, I'm more than just a pretty face and bad poetry." She chuckled, shaking her head, but secretly enjoyed his attention. As they continued to banter, a strange noise interrupted them, a low rumble coming from the base of the pyramid. "What was that?" Neferu asked, her playful mood evaporating. Nern frowned. "I don't know, let's check it out." They hurried over, curiosity piqued, and found a group of workers gathered around a spot near the pyramid's foot. "What's going on?" Neferu inquired, trying to peer through the crowd. One of the workers turned, his face pale. "We found something. Something strange." Neferu pushed her way through, her heart racing as she caught sight of what lay before her, an ancient, mummified body. The worker pointed. "Look, it's holding a piece of broken stone and there's something carved on it." Neferu's heart sank as she read the inscription, *, "The soul of the destroyer shall wander forever." *. Nern's expression turned serious. "This isn't good, Neferu. We should tell someone." She nodded, the weight of the discovery settling on her shoulders. As they stepped back, Neferu couldn't shake the feeling of dread that washed over her. "Do you think it's a warning?" she asked quietly. Nern shrugged, trying to lighten the mood. "Maybe it's just a motivational quote from an ancient rock enthusiast." Neferu couldn't help but smile, grateful for his attempt to ease her fear. But deep down, she knew this was more than just a funny coincidence. They decided to head back, but Nern lingered a moment longer, looking at the pyramid thoughtfully. "You know, maybe I should write another poem about this. Like The Mummy's Lament." Neferu laughed. "Sure, right after you finish the one about my eyes." As they walked back, the weight of the curse loomed over them, but for now, laughter was the best shield against the unknown. The sun was setting over the grand temple of Ptah, casting long shadows across the polished stone floors. 3 talented contestants stood ready for the ultimate challenge to create the most magnificent pillow for Pharaoh. Neferu, with her stunning design of wings inspired by the majestic hawk, was focused and determined. Nern, known for his skill in carving, was busy chiseling a fierce desert lion into his pillow, sweat glistening on his brow. And then there was Seti, the ambitious one, with a pile of glittering gems scattered around him, eyeing his competition with a sly grin. As the competition began, the atmosphere was charged with excitement and tension. Neferu was in her zone, carefully crafting her pillow with intricate details that reflected the beauty of the hawk's wings. Meanwhile, Nern was lost in his work, the sounds of his chiseling echoing through the hall as he brought the lion to life. But Seti, with his greedy heart, was distracted by the shimmering jewels, plotting how to make his pillow the most extravagant of all. At night, when the temple was quiet, Seti snuck out of his chamber to sabotage Neferu's creation. Every time he approached her pillow, his hands trembled as if some unseen force was holding him back. But he was determined. He couldn't let anyone stand in his way to the pharaoh's favor. With each strike of his tool against Neferu's work, he felt a shiver run through him, but he pressed on. Little did he know, Neferu's spirit was strong and her work was protected by the magic of the temple. One night, as Seti was about to strike again, a wild monkey suddenly burst into the hall. The mischievous creature scampered around, causing chaos, and then it spotted Seti's pillow. With a cheeky glint in its eye, the monkey climbed up onto Seti's creation and, well, decided to pee all over it. The room erupted in laughter from the onlookers who had gathered to witness the spectacle. Seti's face turned crimson as he realized his once pristine pillow was now a soggy mess. In that moment, the tension in the air shifted. Neferu and Nern exchanged glances, both amused and relieved. Seti, humiliated and furious, could only watch as the monkey hopped away, leaving behind a wet reminder of his greed. Neferu took this chance to shine even brighter, her hawk wings now symbolizing freedom and resilience. With the monkey's antics breaking the tension, the competition resumed with renewed energy. Nern, inspired by the chaos, carved even deeper into his lion, giving it a fierce expression. And Seti? Well, he was left to salvage what was left of his dignity and his pillow. As the final moments of the competition approached, the judges gathered, eager to see the completed works. Neferu stepped forward, her creation beautiful and ethereal, embodying the spirit of the hawk. Nern presented his lion, powerful and majestic, drawing gasps from the crowd. And Seti, with a half-hearted attempt, showed his bejeweled mess, trying to salvage what little glory he had left. The judges deliberated, and the tension hung thick in the air as everyone awaited the results. In the end, it was Neferu's pillow that captured the hearts of all, its beauty shining through. Nern took second place, his lion praised for its craftsmanship, while Seti was left with nothing but a soggy pillow and a lesson learned. As the crowd cheered for Neferu, Seti realized that true talent and integrity would always outshine greed. And as the temple of Ptah stood grand and eternal, so too did the spirit of creativity and fair competition. Neferu and Nern are on their papyrus boat, gliding smoothly down the Nile, the sun reflecting off the water like a million tiny diamonds. Nephra leans over the edge, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Nern, do you really think we'll find the stone today? Nern, with his usual confidence, grins, absolutely. The legend says the Nubians have the best stone for royal pillows. Can you imagine the softness? As they approach the mysterious stone workshop, the air shifts and the surrounding scenery feels almost magical. Nephra squints at the shore. Is that it? The workshop? It looks, well, a bit abandoned. Nern shrugs. It adds to the mystery, doesn't it? Just think of the treasures that could be hidden inside. They hop off the boat, and as they step onto the bank, Nern almost slips on the wet mud, arms flailing. Whoa, not the dramatic entrance I had in mind. He laughs, regaining his balance. Nephra rolls her eyes. Just try not to fall into the Nile. We can't afford to lose a treasure hunter. Inside the workshop, the air is thick with dust and the faint smell of stone being worked on. Look at this place, Nephra exclaims, running her fingers over the various tools scattered around. And this? Nern points at a slab of beautiful cloudstone, its surface shimmering in the dim light. This is it. Nephra gasps, eyes wide. This is the perfect material for the royal pillows. Nern kneels beside the stone, examining it closely. Just imagine the pharaoh resting his head on this beauty. We have to chip away at it carefully, Nephra suggests, pulling out her tools. As Nern starts to work, the sound of chipping echoes in the quiet workshop. Suddenly, the stone cracks open and ancient carvings begin to reveal themselves. What's this? Nephra leans closer, her heart racing. Look at these symbols. Nern squints. It looks like a warning. He clears his throat and reads aloud, Kanaudan tuk jiak ngakwadan sobuk lukasau esi na chung linhan. What does that even mean? Nephra asks, a hint of worry creeping into her voice. Nern shrugs, something about waking the god Sobek and being eaten by crocodiles? No big deal. Nephra frowns. Nern, this is serious. We shouldn't mess with ancient curses. Nern chuckles. Come on, Nephra. What's a little curse between friends? A curse that might send us to the afterlife, she retorts, clearly not amused. Just then, a splash from the river catches their attention. Nern spins around and his eyes go wide as he sees a crocodile swimming dangerously close to the shore. Ah! Nephru! Look out! He yells, backing away rapidly. In a panic, he trips over a stone and almost falls into the river, flailing his arms. I just realized I haven't confessed my feelings for you yet, he shouts over his shoulder. Nephra bursts out laughing. This is not the time for romantic confessions, Nern. Nern regains his footing, still looking at the crocodile. Well, I might not have a chance if that thing eats me. Nephra shakes her head, trying to catch her breath from laughing. You're ridiculous. Just stay away from the edge. I'll be careful, he promises, moving further from the water. They both stare at the crocodile, which seems to be sizing them up. So, what do we do now? Nephra asks, her voice suddenly serious again. We could always just leave the stone and go back, Nern suggests, still eyeing the reptile. Nephra thinks for a moment, then shakes her head. No way. We can't let a little curse scare us off. We're in this together. Nern nods. You're right. Let's finish what we started, just, without waking any gods. They both approach the stone again, cautiously this time, keeping an eye on the water. Let's just chip away a little more and see what happens, Nephra whispers. The scene opens in Thebes, bustling with excitement as the Opet festival is in full swing. Colorful banners flutter in the wind, and the sound of drums fills the air. Nephru, a young priestess with a curious spirit, looks around, her eyes wide with wonder. She spots the grand altar where the newly completed stone pillow, shaped like a soaring hawk, glimmers under the moonlight. The hawk embraces a radiant sunstone, but tonight it emits a strange, cold glow. Nephru feels an uneasy chill creep up her spine as she approaches the altar. Suddenly, she catches sight of Pharaoh Seti, his face pale and drawn, standing before the pillow. The crowd cheers, unaware of the sinister energy radiating from the stone. Nephru overhears a whisper among the nearby priests. One priest exclaims, wide-eyed. The other priests gasp, realizing the implications of such a forbidden ritual. Nephru's heart races as she pieces together the dark truth. This was a ritual for immortality, a secret that could corrupt the very fabric of life. As the high priest steps forward to lead the ceremony, Nephru tries to get his attention. She shouts. The high priest, a balding man with a long beard, raises an eyebrow. Nephru feels a surge of frustration but knows she must act quickly. Meanwhile, the high priest begins to sing a hymn, but his voice is painfully off-key. It sounds more like a cat in heat than a divine chant, causing the crowd to cringe. Someone in the crowd whispers, /. Laughter erupts, lightening the atmosphere, but Neferu's heart remains heavy. She glances back at Seti, who is now entranced by the glowing pillow. Neferu sneaks closer, her mind racing with ideas. If the pillow is drawing power from Seti, she needs to find a way to stop it. She remembers the ancient texts about purifying rituals and decides to take matters into her own hands. With a deep breath, she rushes to the altar, her heart pounding. /. She cries out, her voice cutting through the laughter. Seti looks at her, confusion etched on his face, but she sees the flicker of fear in his eyes. /. She warns, pointing at the glowing stone. The crowd quiets, the laughter fading as they turn to see what's happening. The high priest's off-key singing falters, and he shoots Neferu an annoyed look. /. He demands. Ignoring him, Neferu continues. /. Seti narrows his eyes, a hint of skepticism in his gaze. /. He says, his voice low and dangerous. Neferu stands her ground, determined to save him. /. Finally, the high priest, realizing the gravity of the situation, steps forward. /. He says, his voice shaky. Seti looks at the high priest, then back at Neferu, uncertainty clouding his expression. The pillow flickers ominously, almost as if responding to their conversation. Suddenly, the ground trembles slightly, and the crowd gasps, fear spreading like wildfire. Neferu knows they must act fast, or the festival will turn into a nightmare. She reaches into her pocket, pulling out a small vial of sacred water from the Nile. With determination, she dashes forward, about to douse the glowing pillow. But before she can, the high priest raises his hands, halting her. /. He exclaims. Neferu rolls her eyes, thinking, really? Now? But she knows they don't have time for that. She takes a deep breath, steadies herself, and shouts, /. The crowd murmurs, torn between the traditions and the urgency of the moment. Seti finally seems to snap out of his trance, looking back at the glowing pillow, then at Neferu. /. He asks, his voice filled with desperation. Neferu smiles, sensing that she finally has his attention. /. Neferu found herself standing at the gates of Duat, the eerie underworld of ancient Egypt where shadows danced and whispers echoed. She had heard tales of this place, but nothing prepared her for the feeling of being swallowed whole by darkness. Her heart raced as she approached the first gate, a massive stone door etched with cryptic hieroglyphs. A voice boomed from the shadows, to pass, answer my riddle, I can be cracked, made, told, and played. What am I? Neferu furrowed her brow, thinking hard, a joke. It's a joke. The gate creaked open, granting her passage to the next level of this twisted realm. As she moved deeper, she encountered more gates, each guarded by a riddle that tested her knowledge of art and history. With every correct answer, the weight on her shoulders felt lighter, but the atmosphere grew heavier. Finally, she reached the seventh gate, and her heart sank as she recognized the familiar figure standing before her. It was her father, his spirit bound to this realm, looking more lost than ever. Father, she cried, rushing to him, what happened? Neferu, my dear, he sighed, I was supposed to complete my eternal resting pillow, but I got, well, distracted. Her eyes widened, distracted? By what? You know, the usual. Trying to carve the perfect image of Anubis for my pillow. He's a tough one to get right. Neferu stifled a laugh, you're telling me you're stuck here because you didn't finish a pillow? Hey, it's not just any pillow. It's supposed to be my ticket to the afterlife. You can't just slap anything together. She shook her head, so what do you need from me? You need to help me carve the image of Anubis. It's got to be perfect or I'll never leave this place. Neferu sighed, great. Just what I wanted to do in the afterlife, play sculptor. But there was no choice, she had to help her father if she wanted to advance. They found a block of stone nearby and Neferu picked up the tools, trying to channel her artistic skills. Remember, Neferu, her father said, Anubis is a god of judgment. His likeness has to be fierce yet wise. Right, fierce? Got it, she muttered, trying to focus. As she began to carve, a voice interrupted, hey, what do you think you're doing? Neferu turned to see Anubis himself, towering and intimidating, his jackal head glaring down at her. Working on the pillow? Nephra replied sheepishly. You can't just carve any old thing. It has to be a masterpiece. Anubis huffed. We're trying, her father chimed in defensively. Anubis raised an eyebrow. Fine, but I want a proper tribute. You need to make sure I look like a true god, not some mangled mutt. Nephra rolled her eyes. No pressure, right? And don't forget those ears. They need to be majestic. Anubis added, crossing his arms. With a reluctant nod, Nephra went back to her carving, envisioning the majestic figure in her mind. Hours passed, or maybe it was just moments. Time felt strange and Duat. Finally, she stepped back, wiping the sweat from her brow. All right, how about this? Anubis inspected the carving, his expression unreadable. Not bad at all, he admitted, a hint of approval in his voice. But the ears, they need more flair. Nephra groaned. Seriously? More flair. Trust me, it's all in the details, he insisted. After a few more adjustments, Anubis finally nodded. Now that's more like it. You've got skills, kid. Thanks, I guess. Nephra replied, feeling a mix of pride and exhaustion. Anubis stepped aside, allowing the seventh gate to swing open, revealing the next stage of her journey. Good luck, Nephru. You'll need it, he called as she passed through. Nephra took a deep breath, heart racing as she continued on her journey, determined to rescue her father and escape Duat. As she ventured further, she wondered what challenges awaited her beyond the next gate, but she felt ready to face whatever came next. The scene opens in the scorching Sahara Desert where the sun blazes down on the golden sands. Neferu and Nern, two warriors of the ancient Egyptian army, stand atop a dune, surveying their land. Nefer wipes sweat from his brow. I can't believe Seti would betray us like this. Nern, flexing his muscles, replies, we can't let those Nubians take our stone quarry. We need to fight back. They spot the Nubian army in the distance, marching towards the quarry with Seti at the helm. Nefer grins. I have an idea. We can use the stone pillows from the quarry as weapons. Nern raises an eyebrow. Stone pillows? You mean those heavy basalt blocks? Nefer nods enthusiastically. Exactly. We'll throw them like cannonballs. The two warriors gather their troops, explaining the plan with wild gestures and exaggerated enthusiasm. As the Nubians approach, Neferu and Nern position their men behind the dune, ready for a surprise attack. Nefer shouts, on my mark, we unleash the pillows. The Nubians, unaware of the impending chaos, continue to advance, boasting about their victory. Seti, riding at the front, barks orders, charge. Nothing can stop us now. With a dramatic flourish, Neferu raises his arm, now. The warriors hurl the stone pillows down the dune, sending them tumbling like boulders. The Nubians look up, eyes wide, as the pillows crash into their ranks, creating chaos and confusion. Nern laughs, look at them scatter like ants. One Nubian, caught off guard, trips over a pillow and falls flat on his face, eliciting chuckles from the Egyptians. Nefer shouts, keep throwing. Aim for Seti. The scene is now a whirlwind of flying stone pillows and disoriented Nubians trying to regroup. Seti, dodging a pillow, yells, what kind of madness is this? Nern, seeing an opportunity, leads his men to flank the Nubians while they're distracted. Suddenly, the Nubians start retreating, but not before Nefer spots an idea. Let's lure them into the tomb, he exclaims. Nern nods, good thinking. They'll never know what's waiting for them inside. They lead the Nubians on a chase, pretending to flee into the dark entrance of the tomb. As the Nubians enter, the air shifts dramatically, it's cooler and eerily quiet. Suddenly, thousands of bats burst from the ceiling, screeching and flapping madly. One Nubian, panicking, gets tangled in his own pants as he tries to run, jumping around like a crazed chicken. Neferu and Nern can't help but burst into laughter at the sight. Look at him go. Nern bellows, tears of laughter streaming down his face. The Nubians, terrified by the swarm of bats, start to scream and scatter in all directions. Seti, trying to regain control, shouts, stand your ground. Fight back. But chaos reigns as soldiers trip over each other, some even dropping their weapons. Neferu, catching his breath, shouts, now's our chance. Charge. The Egyptian warriors charge into the tomb, rallying behind Neferu and Nern. With the Nubians disoriented and the bats creating a scene of utter mayhem, victory seems within reach. Nern spots the same Nubian who was dancing around in panic, still struggling with his pants. Hey, catch that one. He's too funny to let go. Nern laughs. They manage to capture the hapless Nubian who is still flailing about, trying to free himself. What a way to go down in history. Nefer chuckles, pointing at the captured soldier. As the chaos settles and the Nubians retreat, Neferu and Nern stand triumphant, high-fiving each other. We did it. We defended the quarry. Nefer shouts, pumping his fist in the air. Nern laughs, and we got a new dance move out of it. The two warriors look at each other and burst into laughter, celebrating their unconventional victory. In the dimly lit royal embalming workshop, the air was heavy with the scent of herbs and resin, a smell Nephra was starting to find oddly comforting. She adjusted her apron, glancing nervously at the row of mummies resting on their stone slabs, their bandaged forms eerily still. Today was the day she would learn the ancient secret of placing the stone pillow beneath the head of a mummy, the resting place for the soul. Her mentor, an old embalmer with a beard that looked like it had seen better days, shuffled over with a knowing grin. "Neferu, my dear, today you shall unlock the mysteries of the Pillow of Souls," he exclaimed dramatically. Neferu raised an eyebrow, her curiosity piqued. "What's so special about this pillow?" "Ah, it's not just any pillow," he said, his eyes gleaming. "This one is infused with the essence of the afterlife." He handed her a small, tattered scroll and began to explain the sacred formula, a blend of ancient resin and the wings of a sacred scarab. Neferu scribbled down the ingredients, her excitement bubbling over. "This is going to smell amazing." As she mixed the resin with crushed scarab wings, a pungent aroma filled the air, and she couldn't help but giggle. But then she noticed something strange, a faint movement from one of the mummies. "Ah, did you see that?" she whispered, eyes wide. The old embalmer waved her off. "Relax, Neferu. Mummies don't just wake up. It's probably just a draft." Neferu rolled her eyes, but her heart raced. She carefully placed the stone pillow beneath the head of a particularly royal-looking mummy. Suddenly, the mummy's eyes snapped open, and Neferu gasped as it pointed a bony finger at the pillow. What's happening?" she yelled, backing away slowly. The mummy's mouth opened, and in a raspy voice, it croaked, "The soul thief will turn to dust." Neferu blinked, trying to process the chilling proclamation. "Okay, that's creepy," she muttered, glancing at her mentor, who looked equally baffled. Just then, the mummy let out a loud, echoing fart, and the room filled with a noxious, putrid smell. "Oh my gods!" Neferu shouted, covering her nose. "What is that?" The old embalmer gagged, his eyes watering. "That's the smell of the embalming process. It's... He didn't finish his sentence because he was already sprinting toward the exit, followed closely by Neferu. The other workers in the shop joined in, all scrambling to escape the horror of the stench. Neferu stumbled, trying to hold back her laughter despite the situation. "Why does it smell like old onions and regret?" she gasped, still running. The mummy, still sitting upright, seemed to find it amusing, letting out another fart that echoed off the walls. Neferu stopped to catch her breath, leaning against a wall. "Okay, this is officially the weirdest day of my life." As the chaos subsided, the old embalmer returned, looking sheepish but relieved. "Well, that was unexpected." Neferu couldn't help but laugh, the absurdity of the moment breaking the tension. "I guess mummies have gas too." The mummy, still pointing at the pillow, repeated, "The soul thief will turn to dust." Neferu frowned, suddenly serious. "What does that mean?" Her mentor sighed, rubbing his temples. "It means we need to take this seriously. Let's figure out what's going on here." With newfound determination, Neferu nodded. "Right? First, let's figure out how to make the pillows less smelly." As they began brainstorming, the mummy watched them with an eerie but amused expression, still pointing insistently. Neferu couldn't shake the feeling that they were in for a wild ride, filled with secrets and maybe even more farting mummies. In the grand, dusty halls of the ancient library of Alexandria, the atmosphere buzzed with the whispers of scrolls and the rustling of papyrus. Neferu, a sharp-eyed scholar with a knack for the unusual, noticed something strange. The stone pillows in the archives were emitting low, rumbling sounds. She leaned in closer, her heart racing with curiosity, as Nern, her bumbling but loyal friend, shuffled beside her, oblivious to the growing tension. "What do you think it is?" Nern asked, scratching his head as he tried to peer over her shoulder. "These aren't just any pillows," Neferu replied, her voice tinged with excitement. "They're made from meteorite stone. They're buzzing with cosmic energy." Nern's eyes widened. "Cosmic energy? Like, from the stars? Shouldn't we be worried about this? Maybe they're cursed." "Cursed? Or maybe they're just misunderstood." Neferu grinned mischievously, her mind racing with possibilities. Suddenly, the rumbling grew louder, echoing through the library like a distant thunderstorm, causing scrolls to rattle on their shelves. "Okay, that's definitely not normal," Nern quivered. "What if they, come to life or something?" Neferu rolled her eyes. "Relax, Nern. We're scholars, not warriors. We need to figure out what these pillows want." She pulled out an ancient papyrus scroll adorned with strange symbols and prophecies and began to decode it. As she read aloud, the words tumbled from her lips. "When the cosmic pillows awaken, the fate of the mortals shall be shaken." Nern's eyebrows shot up. "Did you just say shaken? Like a cosmic pillow fight?" This is going to be epic. Nefer shot him a serious look. This is no joking matter, Nern. We have to decipher this before it's too late. Just then, an old scholar, oblivious to the commotion, wandered into the room, his eyes fixated on a particularly bright stone pillow. "Ah, a nice place to rest my weary bones," he exclaimed, plopping down onto the glowing cushion. Nefer gasped, "No. Wait," but it was too late. The moment the scholar made contact, the pillow erupted in a flash of light, sending his hair standing on end like he'd been struck by lightning. "By the gods!" Nern shouted, trying to stifle laughter. "I think you just got a cosmic makeover." The scholar jumped up, eyes wide with shock, pointing at the pillow as if it had just betrayed him. "What sorcery is this?" Nefer couldn't hold back her laughter. "It seems the pillows are quite electrifying." The old scholar, now twitching with static energy, looked between Neferu and Nern. "You too. What have you done?" "We didn't do anything," Nern defended, still chuckling. "It's the pillows. They're alive." As if on cue, the stone pillows began to vibrate even more, and the rumbling turned into a cacophony of roars echoing through the library. Nefer clutched the scroll tightly. "We need to find out how to calm them down. There has to be a way to appease these cosmic beings." Nern nodded, still trying to control his laughter. "Maybe we can offer them snacks? Everyone loves snacks." "I don't think pillows eat snacks, Nern," Nefer replied, shaking her head, trying to stay focused. With determination, she skimmed through the scroll, searching for any clues on how to communicate with the awakened pillows. "Ah, here," she exclaimed, pointing at a passage. "It says here that they respond to music." "Music?" Nern echoed, his face lighting up. "I can sing. Well, sort of. It's more of a unique style. Just please, no opera," Nefer sighed, rolling her eyes again. Nern cleared his throat dramatically, and with a deep breath, he started to belt out a tuneless rendition of a popular folk song. The pillows vibrated in response, the rumbling softening as if they were swaying to his awful melody. Nefer couldn't believe her eyes. "It's working." "Keep going, Nern." The old scholar, still frazzled from his pillow experience, watched in disbelief. "Is this really happening?" Under the shadow of the great Sphinx, Nefer paced nervously, her heart racing with the thrill of adventure. Rumors of a treasure hidden within the Sphinx's heart had drawn her here, to this ancient, mysterious place. She brushed a strand of hair behind her ear and took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. With a flick of her wrist, she pushed aside the vines that had claimed the entrance to the underground maze. Backslash, she muttered, stepping into the darkness, her footsteps echoing off the stone walls. As she ventured deeper, the air grew cooler, and the flickering torchlight cast eerie shadows that danced across the walls. Suddenly, she stumbled upon a massive stone slab, intricately carved with hieroglyphs which she recognized from her studies. Backslash, she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Nefer placed her hands on the enormous stone cushion, the rumored heart of Egypt, feeling the coolness of the surface. In that moment, visions flooded her mind, a future filled with soft cushions replacing the hard stone and humanity wandering aimlessly. Backslash, she whispered, confused yet captivated by the images. Just then, out of the shadows, Nern appeared, his face lit by the faint glow of the torch. Backslash, he called, his voice echoing oddly in the confined space. Backslash, she replied, her heart racing again, this time from surprise. Nern, always the bold one, took a step closer, a playful grin on his face. Backslash, he said, winking. She rolled her eyes, but a smile crept onto her lips. Nern always had a way of lightening the mood. As he inched closer, Nefer felt the tension in the air shift, a spark of something electric between them. Nern leaned in, his eyes locking onto hers, and she could feel her breath hitching. But in the dim light, he miscalculated, and instead of kissing her, he landed a smooch right on the Sphinx's stone snout. Backslash, he exclaimed, pulling back, his cheeks flushing with embarrassment. Nefer burst into laughter, the sound echoing off the walls, breaking the tension of the moment. Backslash, she teased, wiping tears of laughter from her eyes. He rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly, a grin spreading across his face despite the blunder. Backslash, he quipped, trying to play it cool. Nefer shook her head, still chuckling. Backslash. They shared a moment of laughter, the tension replaced with lighthearted banter. As they regained their composure, Nefer turned back to the stone heart, her expression turning serious. Backslash, she said, determination in her voice. Nern nodded, suddenly all business. Backslash. Together, they examined the hieroglyphs, piecing together the ancient language as if it were a puzzle. Nefer pointed to a series of symbols, her brow furrowing in concentration. Backslash. Nern scratched his chin, deep in thought. Backslash. As they delved deeper into the mystery, the air around them shimmered and another vision flickered in Neferu's mind. Backslash. She gasped, backslash. Backslash. He joked, but his eyes sparkled with intrigue. They both knew that the heart of the Sphinx held more than just material treasure, it was a lesson for humanity. Neferu felt a sense of purpose wash over her, and Nirn's presence only intensified the feeling. With renewed vigor, they continued to explore, determined to uncover the mysteries hidden within the Sphinx. As they turned a corner, the path opened up to a vast chamber, glittering with ancient artifacts and treasures. Backslash. Neferu exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder. Nirn grinned, his earlier embarrassment forgotten, backslash. They shared a look, the earlier tension now transformed into a bond forged through adventure and laughter. Nefer picked up a golden amulet, its surface warm to the touch, and smiled at Nirn. Nefer stood at the entrance of the mysterious tomb, her heart racing with excitement and a hint of fear. The air was thick with the scent of ancient dust and secrets long forgotten. She took a deep breath and stepped inside, her flashlight beam slicing through the darkness. As she wandered deeper into the tomb, she marveled at the intricate hieroglyphics on the walls. Suddenly, her eyes landed on a beautifully carved stone pillow, the pillow of Nefertiti. Curiosity got the best of her, and she reached out to touch it, feeling a strange energy pulse through her hand. With a soft thud, the pillow shifted and a low rumble echoed through the chamber. Nefer pulled her hand back, but it was too late, the curse of the Queen of the Night had been unleashed. A thick, swirling fog began to creep into the tomb, filling it with an eerie glow. She squinted through the haze, hearing whispers that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. And then, just like that, the fog enveloped her, and she found herself standing in the middle of Thebes. But something was off, the city was shrouded in a ghostly mist and the streets were eerily silent. Backslash. Neferu muttered, looking around for any sign of life. That's when she heard it, a grumpy, raspy voice coming from behind her. Backslash. She turned to see a spectral figure, an ancient builder of pyramids floating in midair. His transparent form was covered in dust, and his expression was a mix of annoyance and desperation. Backslash. Neferu exclaimed, trying to process the situation. Backslash. He shouted, crossing his ghostly arms. Backslash. The ghost raised an eyebrow, looking skeptical. Backslash. Backslash. Neferu snapped, exasperated. Backslash. He said, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Nefer sighed, knowing she had little choice. Backslash. Backslash. Rolling her eyes, she agreed, backslash. The ghost led her through the misty streets, pointing out various landmarks from his time. Backslash. He reminisced, sounding almost nostalgic. Nefer couldn't help but feel a bit of sympathy for the guy. He had been stuck in this limbo for far too long. Finally, they arrived at a crumbling building that looked like it had seen better days. Backslash. He exclaimed, floating through the wall. Nefer followed, her flashlight illuminating piles of ancient scrolls and dusty artifacts. Backslash. As they sifted through the scrolls, Nefer couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. The whispers in the mist grew louder, echoing warnings about the curse and the urgency of her quest. Backslash. The ghost shouted, pulling out a tattered scroll covered in strange symbols. Backslash. He declared triumphantly. Nefer snatched it from him, trying to decipher the ancient script. Backslash. The ghost smirked, looking almost pleased. Backslash. He pointed to another scroll, this one depicting the vast desert, marked with an X where the tears of Ra were supposedly hidden. Backslash. Neferu exclaimed, feeling a surge of determination. But the ghost held up a finger, looking serious. Backslash. Backslash. She replied, already thinking about how she was going to tackle this next challenge. In the Valley of the Kings, the Nile had risen like a moody giant, swallowing tombs whole and leaving chaos in its wake. Neferu stood at the edge of the flooding river, her heart pounding like a drum as she watched the water creep closer to the sacred grounds. With determination, she grabbed the first stone pillow, a hefty slab inscribed with ancient hieroglyphs that shimmered in the dim light. Each pillow was not just a stone, it was a soul, a protector of the pharaohs, and she felt their presence as she stacked them high. It was like playing a game of Jenga, but instead of wooden blocks, she was balancing the essence of history itself. As she placed the second pillow, she felt a rush of wind and rain began to fall, drumming on the stones like a frantic percussion section. Nefer glanced up, and through the sheets of rain, she saw a familiar figure, her father, with that same warm smile she remembered from her childhood. His approval was all she needed, and with renewed vigor, she focused on the task at hand, knowing that each pillow was a step closer to salvation. The third pillow slid into place, and she could almost hear the whispers of the ancients urging her on, reminding her of her duty. Just as she was about to stack the final pillow, a loud splash interrupted her concentration. She turned to see a crocodile, a giant one, hauling itself onto the shore, plopping down right on top of her carefully arranged pillows. The crocodile sprawled out, belly up, basking in the rain like it was on some sort of vacation, completely oblivious to Neferu's plight. Seriously? A crocodile? Of all the moments, now? Neferu couldn't help but chuckle despite the chaos. This was the last thing she expected to see while trying to save the Valley of the Kings. "Excuse me, Mr. Crocodile, but this is not a beach," she exclaimed, waving her arms as if she could shoo him away. The crocodile just blinked lazily, clearly enjoying its new throne of stone. Neferu took a deep breath, trying to focus. "Okay, back to work. Just a few more to go." With a swift motion, she heaved the last pillow onto the stack, feeling a surge of energy as the spirits swirled around her. The moment she placed it down, a thunderous roar echoed from the skies, and the rain seemed to pause as if the world was holding its breath. Neferu closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the ancestors' approval, and opened them just in time to see the crocodile finally roll off her makeshift dam. "Thank you for your cooperation," she shouted sarcastically as the crocodile slithered back into the Nile, probably looking for a less hectic spot to nap. With the last pillow in place, a brilliant light erupted from the stones, illuminating the valley like a beacon of hope. The waters began to recede as if acknowledging Neferu's efforts, and the ancient tombs slowly re-emerged from the depths. She felt a wave of relief wash over her, and she could almost hear her father's voice guiding her to safety. In the aftermath, as the sun broke through the clouds, Neferu stood tall, surrounded by the spirits of her ancestors, knowing she had done her part. And somewhere in the distance, perhaps in another dimension or just in her imagination, the crocodile was probably still sunbathing, blissfully unaware of the heroics that had just unfolded. Neferu stood at the pinnacle of the Great Pyramid, her hands trembling slightly as she placed the final touches on the eternal pillow for Pharaoh Khufu. The sun began to rise, casting a golden glow over the ancient land, and Neferu felt the weight of her creation in her hands. This wasn't just any pillow, it was a masterpiece, encrusted with gems that sparkled like the stars themselves. As the first rays of sunlight hit the pillow, the exquisite jewel at its center began to glow, channeling the light into a magnificent beam. The light shot up into the sky, illuminating the heavens and projecting a celestial map that danced across the dawn. Neferu gasped, her heart racing as she watched the stars twinkle into existence, just as she had envisioned. However, in the shadows lurked Seti, the greedy and power-hungry advisor who had tried to sabotage Neferu's work. Seti had always been jealous of Neferu's talent, and he thought he could trick the pharaoh into believing he was the true master of the pillow. But as the light filled the air with cosmic patterns, Seti's fate was sealed. In a fit of rage, he lunged at Neferu, trying to snatch the pillow away from her. Just as his hands reached out, the ground beneath him began to tremble, responding to the ancient magic of the pyramid. The stones of the pyramid glowed ominously, and a deep rumble echoed across the landscape. Neferu stood her ground, determined not to let Seti ruin her moment of triumph. Suddenly, a beam of light enveloped Seti, and his greedy form began to turn to stone. He screamed in horror, realizing that his greed had led him to this moment of doom. "No, this can't be happening," Seti yelled as he transformed into a lifeless statue, forever clutching the pillow in his stone hands. Neferu sighed, a mix of relief and sadness washing over her. As the first rays of the sun fully illuminated the scene, she couldn't help but feel a sense of justice. Seti had been punished for his greed, trapped in a silent scream for eternity. But at that moment, something unexpected happened. From the shadows, a familiar figure emerged, Duat, the cat goddess with her playful stance and mischievous eyes. Duat sauntered over to the stone figure of Seti, her tail flicking with amusement. With a playful glance at Neferu, she trotted up to the statue and lifted her leg. "Meow. This is the final punishment," she declared, letting loose a stream of cat urine directly onto Seti's stone foot. Neferu burst into laughter, the sound echoing off the ancient stones of the pyramid. Duat, satisfied with her act of defiance, meowed triumphantly. "You see, Neferu, even the gods have a sense of humor." Neferu wiped a tear from her eye, still chuckling at the absurdity of it all. As the sun climbed higher, the celestial map continued to glow overhead, a symbol of both hope and justice. The people of Egypt would come to worship not just the pharaoh but also the cleverness of Neferu and the playful spirit of Duat. From that day forward, the tale of Seti's punishment spread like wildfire, a reminder that greed never goes unpunished. And as for Neferu, she became a legend, her name forever etched alongside the stars she had brought to life. The sun continued to rise over the horizon, painting the world in hues of gold and orange, signaling a new era of prosperity. With a satisfied smile, Neferu turned to leave the pyramid, her heart filled with pride and joy. In the heart of modern Egypt, amidst bustling streets and ancient wonders, a young archaeologist named Leo was digging his way through history. Armed with nothing but his trusty trowel and a curious mind, Leo stumbled upon an ancient workshop hidden beneath layers of sand, untouched for centuries. As he brushed away the caked dust, he uncovered tools and artifacts that hinted at the genius of a long-lost artist named Neferu. The excitement was palpable. This was a discovery that could reshape what they knew about ancient Egyptian craftsmanship. But the real kicker? Leo's cat, Cleopatra, had decided that the stone workshop was the perfect place for a nap. While Leo was meticulously cataloging finds, Cleopatra was busy batting at stones and curling up on a particularly intriguing stone pillow. One night, as Leo sifted through his notes, he felt the weight of history pressing down on him, and he dozed off. Suddenly, he found himself standing by the Nile, the sun setting in a blaze of orange and gold. And there she was, Neferu, smiling at him like an old friend. They chatted like they had known each other for ages, but all Leo could think about was how stunning she looked, adorned in gold and lapis lazuli. As they talked, she pointed to the river, saying, "The true soul lies in the dreams we leave behind." Leo awoke with a start, his heart racing, and glanced over at Cleopatra, who was still blissfully asleep on the ancient stone pillow. He couldn't shake off the feeling that Neferu's words held some deep meaning, something that connected him to her across millennia. Determined to uncover the truth, Leo spent the next day diving deeper into Neferu's world, fueled by the mystery of her legacy. Meanwhile, Cleopatra, ever the attention seeker, kept helping Leo by knocking over artifacts or stretching out on the very tools he needed. At one point, Leo turned to find her sprawled out on a delicate carving, completely oblivious to the fact that it was worth more than his entire salary. With a sigh, he chuckled, "Cleopatra, I hope you know that you're not exactly helping my career here." But somehow her antics lightened the mood, making the daunting task of piecing together ancient history feel a bit more manageable. As the days turned into nights, Leo continued to dream of Neferu, each time learning more about her life and the artistry she left behind. In one dream, she showed him how to mix pigments, and in another, she revealed secrets of the stars that guided her people. Every time he awoke, he felt more inspired, more connected to this woman who had lived thousands of years ago. But of course, Cleopatra was never far away, often choosing to assist by knocking over his notebooks or climbing on his head. One evening, after a particularly vivid dream where Neferu had laughed at Cleopatra's antics, Leo woke up and burst out laughing. He looked at his feline companion, who was now perched regally atop a pile of artifacts. "You know, Cleopatra, I think you might just be Neferu's reincarnation." With her typical disdain for human humor, Cleopatra merely blinked at him, then flopped over to go back to sleep. Leo shook his head, grinning. "You're just lucky you're cute." Days turned to weeks, and Leo's research blossomed, thanks in no small part to his dreams and the ever-chaotic presence of Cleopatra. He realized that every time he followed a thread of Neferu's story, it was like piecing together a puzzle that spanned ages. And all the while, Cleopatra remained a constant source of laughter and distraction, turning the serious work of archaeology into an adventure. On one particularly hot afternoon, Leo found himself sitting back, exhausted, with Cleopatra curled up on his lap. He gazed at the stone pillow, now illuminated by the soft light filtering through the excavation site. In that moment, he understood Neferu's message. It wasn't just about the artifacts, it was about the connections we make through time. In a realm where time has no hold, Neferu's legend whispers through the ages. The stone cushions in the museum stand like sentinels, holding secrets of a long-forgotten past. As night falls, the stars twinkle mischievously, casting a magical glow over the ancient artifacts. In her dreams, Nefer finds herself beside Nern, the god of creation, as they prepare to dance. The music begins, ethereal and haunting, echoing through the cosmos. They start the tenura, spinning gracefully under the heavens, each twirl a century lost in time. "Feel the rhythm of the universe, Neferu," Nern says, his voice smooth like honey. With every spin, they travel through epochs, witnessing the rise and fall of empires. Nefer giggles as she twirls, her dress flowing like the Milky Way itself. "Look at us, Nern. We're cosmic dancers," she exclaims. The stars seem to nod in agreement, twinkling brighter with each rotation. But amidst the joy, a whisper carries through the night, the voice of Horus. "The stone cushions do not hold souls," he murmurs, echoing through the void. It is the souls that carved the stone. Nephra pauses, contemplating the weight of those words. In the realm of dreams, the past and present intertwine like the strands of a tapestry. As they dance, shadows of ancient pharaohs and queens swirl around them, joining the celebration. Hey, do you think they ever danced like this? Nephra asks, her eyes sparkling. Perhaps, but not with the same flair. Nern laughs, spinning her faster. The stars above seem to chuckle, creating a rhythm that beats in time with their laughter. But then, out of nowhere, a familiar figure appears. It's Duat, the goddess of home and cats. She struts in, her tail high, giving a disdainful look at the stone cushions. Ugh, those things are so uncomfortable. She huffs, plopping down on a plush feather bed instead. Neferu and Nern stop dancing, bursting into laughter at the sight. Duat, you're missing out on the cosmic dance of the ages. Nephra calls out. Nope. I'd rather nap on this cloud of fluff, thank you very much. Duat replies, yawning. Nern shakes his head, amused. A goddess of beauty, yet she chooses comfort over glory. With a flick of her paw, Duat dismisses their dancing. You two keep spinning while I enjoy my beauty sleep. As they continue their dance, the universe seems to bow in appreciation of their joy. Nephra spins faster, feeling the energy of the cosmos surge through her. Every twirl is a story, a moment in time. She shouts, exhilarated. Nern nods, adding, and we write those stories with our movements. As the night deepens, the stars align, forming shapes and symbols from ancient times. Nephra feels a connection as if the cosmos itself is alive with memories. But Duat, ever the pragmatist, interrupts, can we get back to the important things, like my nap? Neferu and Nern exchange glances, chuckling at the goddess's priorities. You know, Duat, if you joined us, you might discover some legendary moves. Nern teases. Duat stretches lazily, her eyes half closed. Legendary or not, I'm sticking with my soft bed. It's perfect. With a dramatic sigh, Nephra twirls one last time, unleashing a burst of light that illuminates the night. The stars erupt in a symphony of colors, celebrating the dance of life and laughter. Horus's voice echoes once more, a gentle reminder of the connection between souls and stones. Remember, it's the joy we share that carves the true legacy. Not the artifacts, but the hearts that dance. As dawn approaches, Neferu and Nern slow their dance, their laughter mingling with the morning light. Duat opens one eye, a smirk on her face. Okay, you too. Maybe I'll join for a quick spin. After my nap. And so, in this timeless realm, the dance of sand and stars continues, a reminder of joy, legacy, and the quirks of a sleepy cat.